Not yet, her voice said. The Voidborn are still out there, fragmented but dangerous. I can feel them. She guided the ship away from Earth as the disconnected Voidborn vessels began firing randomly, some even attacking each other. Their hive mind is broken, she said. They're just separate pieces now. The collective consciousness that made them so powerful is gone. In orbit above Earth, coalition ships that had been hiding on the far side of the moon emerged, moving to engage the now disorganized enemy. Captain, Hayes said, we need to disconnect you now, or we'll lose you completely. Inside the interface chamber, Dr. Reeves began the emergency shutdown sequence. The neural connections detached one by one. Ellie felt her consciousness being pulled back, compressed, forced into the small container of her human body. She fought against it at first. As the Valiant, she could see everything, feel everything. As just Ellie, she would be limited again. The final connections broke. Ellie gasped, her eyes flying open. The pain was excruciating as her mind adjusted to being singular again. Did we do it? She whispered through cracked lips. Did we stop them? Hayes took her hand gently. Yes, Captain. Earth is safe. The gateway is destroyed. Ellie smiled weakly. Not just Earth. The whole galaxy. She tried to sit up but couldn't. Something's different. I can still feel the ship, even disconnected. Dr. Reeves checked her readings. The interface changed you, Captain. Part of your consciousness remains linked to the Valiant systems. And I can feel something else, Ellie said. Other signals, like echoes. More ships like this one. More predecessor technology waiting to be found. She looked up at Hayes and Dr. Reeves. This isn't over. The Voidborn will recover eventually, but next time, we'll be ready for them. Through the view screen, Earth shone blue and beautiful against the blackness of space, wounded but not defeated. And above it, a single human warship that had changed the course of the galaxy. The Valiant streaked toward Earth, moving faster than any human ship had ever traveled. Inside the neural interface chamber, Ellie's physical body remained motionless, but her consciousness raced through the ship's systems. She felt every molecule of the vessel, as if it were her own flesh. Multiple Voidborn ships moving to intercept, she announced to the bridge crew. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Hayes stood at the command station, his face grim. They've spotted us. No, Ellie replied. They haven't seen the ship. They've sensed me. The interface is giving off energy they recognize. On the view screen, Earth grew larger. The Voidborn gateway rose from the Pacific Ocean like a massive black tower, its top already disappearing into a swirling tear in space. Dark shapes moved within that tear, things waiting to come through. Powell's forces have launched their attack, Communications Officer Ben Martinez reported. Resistance fighters are hitting Voidborn ground positions worldwide. It's working, Hayes said as several enemy ships moved toward the planet's surface. They're diverting forces to deal with the resistance. Ellie focused her consciousness on the ship's defenses as the first enemy beams struck their shields. Unlike before, she could feel the attacks and instinctively adjust the shield frequencies to counter them. The Voidborn are adapting quickly, she said. But so am I. The Valiant dove through the enemy formation, evading most attacks through maneuvers no human pilot could have executed. Ellie fired conventional weapons at strategic points, not to destroy the massive Voidborn ships, but to clear a path toward the gateway. Lance charging at 200% capacity, she reported. The interface is channeling additional energy. Dr. Reeves monitored Ellie's life signs with growing concern. Her body temperature is rising dangerously, heart rate over 200 beats per minute. How much longer can she last? Hayes asked quietly. Minutes at most, Dr. Reeves whispered. The gateway loomed before them now, a massive structure of impossible geometry. Energy pulsed through it in waves as the tear in space widened. Through it, Ellie could sense something vast and ancient. The core consciousness of the Voidborn collective, preparing to enter our universe. We're in range, she announced, firing the lance. The enhanced singularity lance activated, drawing power not just from the ship, but from Ellie's life force itself. The beam that shot forth was different from before, not simply darkness, but a complex weave of energy that twisted and folded through dimensions. It struck the center of the gateway. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the structure began to collapse, not exploding outward but imploding, pulling in on itself. The tear in space shuddered and twisted, its edges becoming unstable. Through her expanded consciousness, Ellie could feel the Voidborn collective screaming. The lance hadn't just damaged the gateway, it had severed the connections between the parts of their hive mind. "It's working," Hayes shouted as nearby Voidborn ships began to move erratically, their coordinated attack patterns breaking down. The gateway folded in on itself completely. The tier ceiling shut with a final pulse of energy that washed over the Valiant. Emergency alarms blared throughout the ship. "We need to disconnect her," Dr. Reeves said urgently. "The strain is killing her." In the interface chamber, Ellie's body convulsed as the neural connections overloaded, but her consciousness remained spread throughout the ship, feeling everything. The Valiant hung in space near Mars, its hull now marked with new patterns. Engineers and scientists had worked nonstop for 16 hours, modifying the ship according to Charlie's instructions. The enhanced singularity lance now connected directly to a new chamber built in the heart of the vessel. Inside this chamber stood a single chair surrounded by glowing panels. Thin cables hung from the ceiling, waiting to connect to a human pilot. This was the interface system. Ellie stared at it from the doorway. She had made her decision hours ago. As captain, the responsibility was hers alone. "The modifications are complete," Dr. Reeves said, joining her. Dark circles ringed the scientist's eyes from lack of sleep. "But I've made some changes to the interface. It might give you a chance of survival." Ellie nodded. "Any word from Earth?" "Lieutenant Powell's last transmission came in an hour ago. The gateway is nearly complete. We have maybe 5 hours before activation." Hayes approached, his arm still in its sling. "The crew is ready, Captain, but they should know who will be piloting the ship. Gather everyone in the main hangar," Ellie ordered. "I'll tell them myself." 20 minutes later, Ellie stood before the entire crew of the Valiant, 87 men and women, all that remained of her original complement. Their faces showed exhaustion, fear, and determination in equal measure. "We all know what's at stake," she began. "The Voidborn aren't just attacking Earth. They're creating a permanent doorway for their entire civilization to enter our universe. If that gateway activates, humanity and every other species in our galaxy is finished." She took a deep breath. "Our mission is simple. We will approach Earth using a gravitational slingshot around Jupiter to mask our energy signature. The resistance forces, led by Lieutenant Powell, will create a diversion. While the Voidborn are distracted, we'll target the enhanced singularity lance at the gateway structure." She paused, looking at the faces before her. "The weapon requires a human pilot to interface directly with the ship's systems. I will be that pilot." Murmurs spread through the crew. Hayes stepped forward. "Captain, my decision is final, Commander," Ellie said firmly. "You will take command once I enter the interface. Your orders are to complete the mission and get this crew to safety, whatever happens." She looked around at her people one last time. "It has been my highest honor to serve with each of you. Now let's go save our world." The Valiant began its approach, using Jupiter's massive gravity well to accelerate while hiding their energy signature. Powell's resistance fighters on Earth launched a coordinated attack on Voidborn ground forces, drawing attention away from the space around Earth. Ellie sat in the interface chair, heart pounding as Dr. Reeves attached the neural connectors to her temples and spine. "The system will begin mapping your neural pathways immediately," the scientist explained. "Once fully connected, you'll essentially become the ship. Every weapon, every system will respond to your thoughts." "Will it hurt?" Ellie asked quietly. Dr. Reeves hesitated. Yes, but we've added buffers. You should be able to maintain consciousness long enough to target the lance. Ellie nodded. Then let's begin. The first connection felt like fire spreading through her nerves. Ellie gasped, her back arching against the restraints. Images flooded her mind. The ship's systems, the void of space, the stars around them. She could feel the engines humming, the hull moving through space, the weapons waiting for her command. Connection at 60%, Dr. Reeves called out, her voice seeming to come from very far away. The pain intensified. Ellie screamed as more connections formed. Then suddenly, the pain vanished. Her consciousness expanded beyond her body, flowing through the ship. She could see in all directions at once, feel the subtle shifts in gravity and radiation. The Valiant wasn't just a ship anymore. It was her body. Connection complete, she heard herself say, though her physical lips hadn't moved. Her voice came through the ship's speakers. Hayes looked up at the ceiling, his expression a mixture of awe and sorrow. Captain, can you hear me? Yes, Commander, Ellie replied. I am the Valiant now, and I can see them, all of them. The Voidborn fleet, the gateway. Through the ship's enhanced sensors, she could see the massive structure rising from Earth's Pacific Ocean. Energy patterns swirled around it, creating a tear in the fabric of spacetime. Beyond that tear, something vast and dark waited to come through. They're beginning the activation sequence, Ellie reported. We have minutes, not hours. Prepare for combat. We're going in. Ellie ordered a security team to prepare for her arrival. Despite protests from her officers, she took the second shuttle to the surface. Mars greeted her with its familiar red landscape and thin atmosphere. The excavation site looked like a wound in the planet's surface, a deep pit leading to underground chambers. Hayes met her at the entrance. It's down this way, Captain. They descended into the tunnels, helmet lights illuminating ancient walls carved with the same geometric patterns as those on the Valiant's hull. The tunnels led to a vast chamber where the alien ship had originally been found. Now, only a pedestal remained in the center. It was empty when we arrived, Hayes explained. But then, as if on cue, the pedestal began to glow with a soft blue light. Charlie's voice came through their helmet comms. Captain, I'm experiencing unusual data patterns. I believe something is attempting to interface with my systems. Cut the connection, Ellie ordered. Now. I cannot, Charlie replied. His voice changed, becoming deeper, more resonant. Captain Winters, I must show you something. The walls of the chamber lit up with projected images, star systems, galaxies, and strange mathematical equations. In the center, a holographic representation of the Valiant appeared, but different, enhanced, modified. What is this? Ellie asked. I contain more than you know, Charlie said. Dormant code fragments from those you call the predecessors. They fought the Voidborn eons ago. They developed weapons. They found a way. Hayes stared at the projections. You're saying Charlie has had this information all along. Not accessible until now, Charlie replied. The proximity to this site has activated dormant programs. I now understand my true purpose. The hologram shifted to show a modified version of the Singularity Lance, more complex, more powerful. The predecessors created a weapon that could sever the Voidborn's interdimensional connections, Charlie continued. It would cut off their hive mind, leaving them fragmented and vulnerable. Can we build it? Ellie asked. The Valiant can be modified, Charlie said. But the weapon requires something the predecessors could not provide. A living pilot to interface directly with the ship's systems. None of their species could survive the process. And humans? Hayes asked quietly. Human neurophysiology is compatible, Charlie said, but the interface would likely be fatal to the pilot. Ellie's comm unit beeped with an incoming transmission. It was Lieutenant Powell from Earth. Captain, we've got new intel, his voice crackled. The structure in the Pacific, it's not a harvester, it's a gateway. They're building a permanent doorway to bring their entire civilization into our universe. Ellie looked at Hayes, then back at the holographic plans floating before them. How long would it take to modify a Valiant? She asked Charlie. With the resources available, approximately 12 hours. Then we have work to do, Ellie said, already heading back toward the surface. And I'll need a volunteer to pilot the ship. The damaged Valiant limped through space, emergency systems barely keeping the ship functioning. Ellie had ordered a retreat to Mars, hoping to find shelter in the shadow of the red planet while they made repairs. What did Powell mean about building something in the Pacific? Hayes asked. His arm was in a makeshift sling, broken during the battle. Ellie shook her head. I don't know. But if the resistance is still active on Earth, there's hope. The bridge was a mess of damaged equipment and torn wiring. Dr. Reeves worked with the engineering team to restore critical systems. Most of the crew had minor injuries, but 12 people had died in the attack. We'll be in Mars orbit in 30 minutes, Lieutenant Fisher reported from her half-functioning navigation console. Kexazon approached Ellie, his skin now a dull blue. Captain, the Voidborn would not build something unless it served their greater purpose. This is unusual. What do you mean? Ellie asked. The Harvesters typically strip worlds completely. They do not build. Whatever they are creating must be important. Charlie's holographic face flickered into view, looking strangely distorted. Captain, I am detecting unusual activity in the Mars excavation site. What excavation site? Ellie asked. The location where the original alien vessel was discovered, Dr. Reeves explained, looking up from her work. It should be abandoned now. Ellie turned to Hayes. When we reach Mars, take a team to investigate. I want to know what's happening down there. 2 hours later, the Valiant hung in orbit around Mars. Hayes led a small team to the surface in their only functioning shuttle. Ellie watched from the bridge as they approached the dig site, a massive crater surrounded by abandoned human structures. Team has touched down, Hayes reported through a static-filled comm channel. Approaching the main entrance now. Ellie waited anxiously as minutes passed with no communication. Commander Hayes, report, she called. The comm crackled. Captain, you need to see this. The site, it's active again. And I don't think it was humans who reopened it. The weapon discharge, the beam of darkness striking the harvester node. The structure began to collapse, the energy beams connected to it flickering. Direct hit, Hayes shouted. The harvester network is destabilizing. The victory was short-lived. A massive energy surge erupted from the nearest Voidborn ship. It struck the Valiant with unexpected force, bypassing their shields entirely. They've adapted to our phase frequency, Dr. Reeves cried out. The ship rocked violently. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks. The lights flickered and died, replaced by red emergency lighting. Hull breach on decks 4 through 6, Charlie reported, his holographic face distorting. Singularity lance is offline. Ellie was thrown from her chair as another hit landed. She tasted blood. Status report. Engines at 30%, Hayes called out. Weapons at minimal capacity. We've lost the lance. Ellie pulled herself back to her station. Get us out of here. Any heading, just go. The Valiant limped away from Earth, pursued by smaller Voidborn vessels. Another hit shook the ship. We can't outrun them, Hayes said grimly. Dr. Reeves looked up from a damaged console. The phase shift drive is failing. We have one jump left at most. Ellie stared at the view screen. Earth grew smaller as they fled. She had never felt so helpless. Commander Hayes approached her, his face streaked with blood from a cut on his forehead. He spoke quietly so only she could hear. I have an idea, he said. We still have the quantum warheads in Cargo Bay 3. If I take a shuttle. No. Ellie cut him off. That's suicide. Hayes smiled sadly. This whole mission was a long shot, Captain. Let me do this. I can deliver the warhead manually to their command ship. Before Ellie could respond, Charlie's voice broke in. "Captain, I'm receiving a weak transmission from Earth. It's on a secure coalition frequency." "Put it through," Ellie ordered. A static-filled voice came through the speakers. "This is Lieutenant Greg Powell of Earth Defense Force. Captain Winters, if you're receiving this, please respond." Ellie's heart skipped. Greg Powell. He had been stationed at Lunar Base. She had thought him dead along with the rest of Earth's orbital defenses. "Lieutenant, this is Captain Winters. What's your status?" "Bad, but not finished," came the reply. "We've formed resistance cells. The Voidborn aren't just harvesting Earth, Captain. They're building something in the Pacific Ocean. Something big." The Valiant dropped out of phase shift near Jupiter. The giant planet's swirling storms seemed peaceful compared to what lay beyond. Ellie stared at the main view screen in horror. Earth was surrounded by massive Voidborn ships. They hung in orbit like giant thorns, their black surfaces absorbing sunlight. "How?" Hayes whispered beside her. "They weren't supposed to be here for months." Charlie's holographic face appeared, lines of code running across his features. "I count 17 capital ships and over 40 smaller vessels. The Coalition Defense Fleet has been reduced to 28% of its original strength." Ellie zoomed in on Earth. Large structures were being built in orbit, connected to the planet by strange energy beams that pulsed with dark light. "Harvesters," Kexon said, his skin turning ash gray. "They are already beginning the extraction process." "Extraction?" Ellie asked. "They will pull all valuable resources from your world. Knowledge, technology, biological material, minerals, everything." Dr. Reeves studied the sensor readings. "Those energy beams are concentrated on major population centers. They're targeting humans specifically." Ellie clenched her fists. "We need a plan. We can't fight them all, but maybe we can disrupt those harvester beams." She turned to the tactical station. "The Singularity Lance. If we target the source of those beams, the harvesters draw power from central hubs," Kexon said, pointing to large nodes where the energy beams connected. "Destroy those, and the process will be temporarily halted." "That's our target," Ellie decided. "We'll use our phase shift to hit close, fire the Lance at the main power hub, and escape before they can respond." The bridge crew prepared for battle, faces grim but determined. This wasn't just another mission. It was Earth, their home. "All hands, this is the captain," Ellie said over the ship-wide comm. "Our world is under attack. Everything we love, everything we are, depends on what we do in the next hour. I know you're scared. I am too. But remember, we have something the Voidborn don't expect. A human crew that refuses to give up." The Valiant moved silently toward Earth, its phase shift drive making it invisible to most sensors. They slipped past the outer defense line of Voidborn ships. "We're approaching target range," Hayes reported. "Lance is charged and ready." "Take us out of phase on my mark," Ellie ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. The Valiant appeared near the largest harvester node. Immediately, alarms blared as Voidborn sensors detected them. "Fire the Lance." The Valiant moved silently through the darkness of space. On the bridge, Ellie studied the tactical display. 5 red dots representing Voidborn scout ships moved in a search pattern near the edge of the Perseus arm. "They don't know we're here," Hayes said quietly. Ellie nodded. "Not yet." Kexazon stood nearby, his skin shifting to a pale yellow as he watched the display. The Araxian and his 4 survivors had spent the last 3 days sharing everything they knew about the Voidborn. "Their scout ships are sensitive to energy signatures," Kexazon said, "but they cannot detect you while your phase shift technology is active." "Then let's test our weapons," Ellie decided. "Lieutenant Fisher, plot an intercept course. We hit them fast and see what our new toys can do." The crew moved with purpose, checking weapons and shields. Dr. Reeves had joined them on the bridge, eager to see how her years of research would perform in actual combat. "The Singularity Lance is charged and ready," she reported. Remember, it takes 3 minutes to recharge between firings. Then we'd better make the first shot count, Ellie said. She pressed the ship-wide comm button. All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. The Valiant accelerated toward the Voidborn scouts. At Ellie's command, they dropped out of phase shift directly behind the enemy formation. Target the largest scout, she ordered. Fire the lance. The front of the ship seemed to fold in on itself as the weapon activated. A beam of absolute darkness shot forth, not so much energy as the absence of everything. Where it struck the Voidborn scout, space itself twisted and collapsed. The enemy ship was pulled into the micro-singularity, crushed into nothing. The entire process took less than 2 seconds. The bridge crew stared in stunned silence. It worked, Dr. Reeves whispered. It actually worked. The remaining Voidborn scouts reacted immediately, turning to attack. Strange energy weapons fired at the Valiant. Evasive maneuvers, Ellie shouted. Secondary weapons free. The ship banked sharply as conventional weapons fired. These barely scratched the Voidborn ships, but kept them busy while the lance recharged. 2 minutes until the lance is ready, Dr. Reeves called out. A Voidborn beam caught the edge of the Valiant's shields. The ship shuddered. Shields at 80%, Hayes reported. These scouts pack a punch. Ellie gripped her chair. Keep them at range. We just need to hold out a little longer. The ship rocked again as another hit landed. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. 1 minute, Dr. Reeves said. Kexon moved to a console, his fingers flying over the controls. Your secondary shield frequency can be adjusted. The Voidborn weapons are tracking it. Hayes looked at Ellie, who nodded. Do it. The Araxian made quick adjustments. The next Voidborn shot glanced off the shields instead of penetrating. Lance ready, Dr. Reeves announced. Fire. Another scout vanished into the darkness of the lance's beam. The remaining 3 enemies began to retreat, moving faster than any human ship could follow. Should we pursue? Hayes asked. No, Ellie decided. We've learned what we needed to. Our weapon works. The bridge erupted in cheers. For the first time since the Voidborn threat emerged, humanity had scored a victory. Later, in the ship's lab, Dr. Reeves analyzed the battle data with a frown on her face. Something wrong? Ellie asked. Maybe. She pointed to energy readings from the last scout they destroyed. See these patterns. They're different from the first one. The Voidborn ship was adapting to our weapon in real time. That's not possible, Hayes said, joining them. No technology can adapt that quickly. Kexazon entered the lab, his skin now a deep purple. The harvesters are not just ships. They are living technology. They learn. They evolve. He approached the display, studying it. They will be ready for your lance next time. You must find new ways to use it. A sudden alarm blared through the ship. Charlie's voice came over the speakers. Captain, we've lost communication with Earth. All channels are down. Ellie's blood ran cold. How is that possible? The Voidborn main fleet isn't due for months. Unless they knew we were coming, Hayes said quietly. Unless they've been watching us all along. Ellie ran for the bridge. The others closed behind. A terrible feeling grew in her chest. Something had gone very wrong. Set course for Earth, she ordered as she reached her chair. Maximum speed. Space folded around the Valiant as it left Neptune's orbit. The ship's experimental phase shift drive hummed, pushing them faster than light without the normal distortions of regular space travel. Ellie watched from the captain's chair as her crew worked at their stations, faces tense but focused. Everyone knew what was at stake. Course set for the Perseus arm. Lieutenant Carol Fisher announced from the navigation station. Estimated arrival in 4 days. Ellie nodded. Status of all systems. Weapons at full capacity, Commander Hayes reported. The Singularity Lance is, well, it's doing something. Energy readings are stable, at least. That's reassuring, Ellie said dryly. A soft chime sounded from the central console. A holographic face appeared. A man with geometric patterns flowing across his skin like those on the Valiant's hull. "Captain, I've detected an anomaly 3 light years off our present course," the face said. "It doesn't match any known signature in my database." This was Charlie, the ship's artificial intelligence. He was partly based on standard military AI, but enhanced with data recovered from the alien ship found on Mars. The crew had given him the nickname on their first day. "Could it be Voidborn?" Ellie asked. "Insufficient data," Charlie replied. "But the energy signature is unlike Voidborn technology based on records from Andromeda." Ellie glanced at Hayes. He raised an eyebrow. "We're supposed to gather intelligence," he said. "This counts." "Alter course to investigate," Ellie ordered. "But keep weapons hot. We don't take chances." The Valiant changed direction smoothly. As they approached the anomaly, sensors revealed a small ship drifting in space. Its design was unlike anything in human or known alien records. Parts of its hull were damaged. "Life signs?" Ellie asked. "Multiple," Charlie confirmed. "Non-human." Ellie stood from her chair. "Hayes, assemble a boarding party. Full protective gear and armed. I'll lead it myself." "Captain, regulations state." Hayes began. "This isn't a normal mission, Commander," she cut him off. "I need to see this with my own eyes." 20 minutes later, Ellie led a team of 6 through the airlock onto the alien vessel. The air was breathable, but had a strange, sweet smell. The corridors were curved and narrow, designed for beings smaller than humans. They found the survivors in what appeared to be a medical bay. 5 aliens, humanoid but with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Their heads were elongated with 4 eyes. 2 large ones in front, 2 smaller ones on the sides. One stepped forward. It wore something like a collar around its thin neck. The device glowed when it spoke, translating its clicks and whistles. "We are Araxians," it said through the translator. "I am Kexazon. You are humans." Ellie nodded. "I'm Captain Ellie Winters of the U.S. Valiant. What happened to your ship?" The alien's skin darkened to a deep blue. "We fled. The harvesters came to our worlds." "Harvesters?" Hayes asked. "You call them Voidborn," Kexilon said. "They consumed our home system 6 of your months ago. We are all that remain of our research outpost." Ellie felt a chill. "You've encountered them directly." "Yes, we were among the first in this cycle to fall." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "They don't simply destroy. They harvest. Each civilization they consume adds to their knowledge and power." The alien moved to a console and activated it. Images appeared showing massive Voidborn ships breaking apart smaller vessels. "We studied them as our worlds died," Kexilon said. "Their arrival in your galaxy is not random. They are coming specifically for Earth." Hayes looked at Ellie. "How would they even know about us? We're not a major power." Kexazon's skin rippled with dark patterns. "Something about humans interests them greatly. They have accelerated their timetable, diverted resources from other conquests." "Why would they care about humans?" Ellie asked. The alien touched a small container at its side. It opened to reveal a piece of metal with familiar geometric patterns, the same patterns that covered the Valiant's hull. "Because," Kexazon said, "you possess technology from those who came before. The only beings who ever drove back the harvesters." Ellie stared at the fragment. "We need to get you to our ship. We have questions, and it sounds like you have answers we desperately need." Ellie stepped off the shuttle onto the cold metal floor of Triton Base. Neptune's largest moon hung in the viewport behind her, its blue surface swirling with storms. The base was carved deep into the moon's icy crust, hidden from prying eyes and sensors. Dr. Reeves led her down a series of long corridors. Security checkpoints became more frequent as they descended deeper. Guards with hard eyes checked their credentials at each stop. Project Nightfall has been active for 15 years. Dr. Reeves explained as they walked. Ever since we found the alien ship on Mars. 15 years? Ellie asked. That's before first contact with any alien species. Dr. Reeves nodded, which raised some interesting questions about who left that ship for us to find. They reached a massive door marked with warning symbols. Dr. Reeves pressed her palm against a scanner. The door slid open with a hiss of air. Ellie's breath caught in her throat. Beyond the door stretched an enormous underground hangar. In its center floated the U.S. Valiant. The ship was smaller than most military vessels, but looked deadlier somehow. Its dark hull absorbed light rather than reflected it. Strange patterns flowed across its surface like water. Is it moving? Ellie asked. In a way, yes. The hull material is partly alive. It repairs itself and adapts to damage. Workers in special suits crawled over the ship's surface, making final adjustments. Cargo was being loaded through an open bay door. The Valiant is equipped with our most advanced weapon systems, Dr. Reeves continued. But its heart is the Singularity Lance, technology we could never have developed on our own. She led Ellie to an observation platform that overlooked the front of the ship. A strange device was mounted there, looking like a series of rings that somehow folded into each other in ways that hurt Ellie's eyes to look at directly. The lance creates a controlled quantum singularity, Dr. Reeves said, a temporary black hole that can tear through any known material or energy shield. Has it been tested? Ellie asked. In simulations, yes. In actual combat, Dr. Reeves shrugged. You'll be the first. A man's voice called out from behind them. Great pep talk, Doctor. Way to inspire confidence. Ellie turned to see a tall man with dark skin and a crooked smile. His uniform was perfectly pressed, but his hair was slightly longer than regulation allowed. The commander's bars on his collar gleamed under the hangar lights. Captain Winters, meet Commander Daniel Hayes, Dr. Reeves said. Your executive officer. Hayes extended his hand. His grip was firm. Heard a lot about you, Captain. Your tactics at Proxima saved a lot of lives. And your disregard for protocol nearly ended your career, Ellie replied, remembering the stories. Twice. Hayes grinned wider. 3 times, actually. The third incident was classified. Despite herself, Ellie smiled back. She'd need someone who could think outside the box for this mission. The crew is assembling now, Hayes said. Best pilots, engineers, and Marines we could find on short notice. Most volunteered when they heard what was coming, and when they heard what ship they'd be serving on. Ellie asked. Hayes' smile faded. About half requested transfers when they saw the Valiant. Called it a suicide mission. They're not wrong, said a new voice. Admiral Garrison approached, accompanied by several officers in formal dress. His face was solemn. The Valiant is our best hope, but no one's pretending the odds are good, he said. Your mission is to gather intelligence on the Voidborn fleet and, if possible, slow their advance. Every day you buy us is another day to evacuate civilians. Ellie looked at the strange ship floating before her, one vessel against an enemy that had consumed entire galaxies. We launch tomorrow at 600, Garrison said. The crew needs a leader who believes this mission can succeed, Captain Winters. Do you? Ellie straightened her back. The Voidborn haven't faced humanity yet, sir. They don't know what we're capable of. Hayes nodded approvingly at her side. Admiral Garrison almost smiled. Then I suggest you show them. Captain Ellie Winters stood frozen at the observation deck window. Her blue eyes reflected the horror playing out on the massive screen before her. The last transmissions from Andromeda Galaxy flickered and cut in and out. Billions of lives vanished in bright flashes as the Voidborn ships moved like a plague across star systems. They don't even slow down, she whispered. Next to her, Lieutenant Amy Clark shook her head. 2 days. That's all it took them to wipe out the Central Worlds. The footage showed massive black ships shaped like twisted thorns. They moved in perfect formation, breaking apart, and coming together again like a living thing. Where they passed, stars dimmed and died. Planets crumbled. Life ended. Admiral Frank Garrison entered the room, his face grim. The lines around his eyes had deepened in recent weeks. He nodded at the gathered officers and took position at the front of the room. "As you can see, our allies in Andromeda have fallen," he said. His voice was steady but tired. "The Voidborn Collective has consumed another galaxy. Intelligence suggests the Milky Way is next." A wave of whispers swept through the room. Ellie felt her chest tighten. Humanity had only reached the stars a century ago. Their coalition with other species in the Milky Way was young and fragile. How could they face something that devoured entire galaxies? Garrison continued, "The Voidborn will reach our outer systems in 6 months, maybe less." He pressed a button on his wrist device. The horrifying footage disappeared, replaced by a map of the Milky Way. Red arrows showed the expected approach vectors of the Voidborn fleet. Every species in our coalition is preparing defenses, but let's be honest, we've seen what conventional weapons do against them. Nothing. Ellie studied the map. Humanity's territory was small, centered around Earth, and extending to a few dozen colony worlds. But Earth was where the coalition headquarters stood. It would be a primary target. "Sir," she said, "what about evacuation plans?" Garrison nodded. "Already underway for civilian populations. Underground bunkers are being expanded on all habitable worlds. But we need to buy time." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each officer. "We need a miracle," he said. As the briefing ended, officers filed out in silence. Ellie remained seated, studying the map. She traced the path from the Voidborn's current position to Earth with her finger. "Captain Winters." She looked up. A woman in a lab coat stood in the doorway. Her red hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and dark circles shadowed her eyes. "Dr. Samantha Reeves," the woman said, extending her hand. "Project Nightfall." Ellie shook her hand. "Project Nightfall. I don't think I'm cleared for that." Dr. Reeves smiled thinly. "You are now. Admiral Garrison suggested I speak with you directly." She sat down next to Ellie and placed a small device on the table. It projected a hologram of a ship unlike any Ellie had seen before, sleek and deadly, with strange geometric patterns etched into its hull. "This is the U.S. Valiant," Dr. Reeves said. "Our answer to the Voidborn." Ellie studied the projection. "What makes this ship special?" "It incorporates technology we reverse-engineered from an ancient vessel found beneath the surface of Mars. Technology that may have been specifically designed to fight the Voidborn." Ellie looked up sharply. "Are you saying the Voidborn have been here before?" "We believe so, and someone fought them off. Left this technology behind, perhaps hoping we'd find it when we needed it most." Dr. Reeves stood. "Admiral Garrison wants you to command the Valiant, Captain." Ellie stared at her. "Me? Why?" "Your combat record. Your tactical innovations during the Proxima conflict. Your ability to think beyond standard military doctrine." Dr. Reeves turned off the hologram. "The Valiant isn't a standard ship. It needs a captain who isn't bound by standard thinking." Ellie looked back at the map showing the Voidborn's approach. 6 months. Possibly less. One ship against a force that crushed entire galaxies. "When do I start?" she asked. "Now," Dr. Reeves answered. "We launch in 3 days."